Hello my fellow chatterers and magical readathon lovers, and anyone else who's popped in because you're curious about what this is. We've got a bit lost. Welcome everyone. I'm Chatty and this is my channel, Chatty the Mad Chatter, and today I'm chatting away about what I've been reading for the magical readathon of Orilium. If you're not sure what this is, it is a readathon that has been created by G from Book Roast. It's like a magical university. You take classes to read books. I have linked all you need to know about it in the description box. If you want to find out more, go and check them out. So I'm doing a segmented study. I can't do a vlog of my Orilium reading because I can't edit on my channel. We just do one rolling shot. We only have the power of pause. And here's my tiny teacup. So let's do my tiny teacup gimmick. Cheers everybody. Clink, clink, clink. So we're rolling, we're committed. This is take one, so this is good. But chaos could happen, so just so you know. So I talk about one of the books I've read and then talk about a couple of other books that I've started, or one book that I've started, just giving away that I've started too. And then I kind of do it that way. So I'm calling it like a segmented study, and that is my Orilium magical reading vlog. So let's go and see what the book I have been reading is. So I have now completed my psionics and divination class. And for this, I read Rainbow Grey, The Battle for the Skies. This is the third book in the Rainbow Grey trilogy, which is a middle grade fantasy by Laura Ellen Anderson. And the prompt was Cloud Study 101, read a book with clouds on the cover. And Rainbow Grey is standing on a cloud, and there is her fluffy cloud cat Nim. And oh my goodness, what a wonderful close-up of the horrendous sticker debris that I've attempted and failed to pickle off. So poor Nim is covered in grey fluff stickiness. Woo! So I have now read Rainbow Grey, and I really get a lot of joy from this middle grade series. It is highly whimsical. One of the things I love about it is it's just really cozy, and the set is falling down on my head. There we go. I'm leaning against it now so it doesn't attack me. I just thought it would be cool to have like a nice colourful blanket rather than a blank wall behind me. Stop trying to squash me. Anyway, this is a magical whimsy fantasy. The world has been created all around weather. So you have this concept of the weather on Earth has been created and managed by the weatherlings who live in this magical land, kind of like floating sort of different lands. So there's like the main one. Let me show you the map. Diddly-dee, diddly-doo. There we go. So that's the main one here. And you have all sorts of kind of like forests and little towny bits and the school. And then you've got all these kind of other areas where different weatherlings will live. Rainbow Grey lives here in the, is it the Cloud suburbs? Yeah, Cloudimus suburbs. And there are rainbow weatherlings that, no, there are weatherlings that have all different sorts of powers. Rainbow Grey has a friend called Snowdon Everfreeze and Droplet Dewbells. Snowdon is a snow weatherling, so has magical gloves to help make snow. And when he's excited, he tends to kind of have little puffs of snow, like little snowflakes that fluff out of his ears. And Droplet Dewdrop has a rain weather cape, which allows her to puddle port. So she can, if there's a puddle, she can jump into it and then disappear into a different puddle. So she's kind of got this transportation thing. And her cape is literally made of rain. So when she appears, she'll often swoosh it, and then that causes water to splosh on people, which is highly entertaining. And Rainbow Grey has a very rare brand of magic called Rainbow magic. So in the first book, she didn't have any magic, and then she discovers her rainbow magic. And then there's a whole kind of backstory about where had this come from? Why had the rainbow weatherlings kind of gone out of existence? She faces a bit of prejudice in book 2. And here we are in book 3, ready for the final, the showdown between Rainbow Grey and the villain of the piece. You have villains called rogues. Rogue weatherlings don't care about trying to do forecasting and giving like normal order of weather on Earth and supporting the Earth. They just want ultimate power and just go crazy. So they kind of like cause lots of destruction with all their big tornadoes and their thunderstorms and flash floods and all of that. So Rainbow Grey and her friends have to save the world and the weatherling world from these rogue weatherlings. So it is a really, really fun time. It doesn't take itself too seriously. It is kind of like a bit of a younger middle grade age, I'd say, than things like your Percy Jackson or your Nevermore and Amari. It just feels a little bit younger, but I have such a cozy time with these. I really love the characters. I love Laura Ellen Anderson's art, and I just find them lots of fun. So for me, this is definitely kind of on a level with the first book that I read in the series. It's just really joyful. It sums up kind of the ties up and finishes off the story of the mystery of what happened to the Rainbow Weatherlings, where their like school was, what the powers were. So we get all the answers to all of those things, and it ends really satisfactory with kind of rebuilding and life anew. And I really enjoyed all of that. My favourite in the series is the second one, just because I really enjoy the trope of having your protagonist have to face like the prejudice of the world. So feeling like the world is against them and that they are someone who is scary and people are unsure of them, and sort of not having to prove yourself, but just like having to manage to ignore what everyone else thinks of you and just continue to be you and continue to do what you do best without worrying about the rest of the world. I find those sorts of stories really powerful. I find those sorts of stories really emotional. So because of that particular trope in the second book, that's why the second book is my favourite one. But you may disagree with me. But I still got a lot of joy from this. I just needed like a really cozy read. Because I had been reading a few other bits kind of around this, which were definitely feeling a lot heavier. So this was really like a breath of fresh air, absolute weather puns all day. So yes, you have all the three characters. There's adventure, there's magic, there's more discovering fun stuff about rainbows. So get involved if you love Rainbow Grey. If you have never read Rainbow Grey and you enjoy like a really cozy, whimsical, middle grade magical setting, then I recommend Rainbow Grey. So let's go and see what my character PioLurs has to study next. So I realise I didn't say at the beginning of the video, but PioLurs is studying for the Star Whisperer calling. But PioLurs is a SWAT and wants to do everything. But we're just focusing these on all the star studies. So the next one that we have to read is The Art of Illusion. And the focus for the Art of Illusion is disguise self. So read a book that matches your outfit. And for this prompt, I have chosen Grender Euphoria by Laura Kate Dale. This is a collection of essays from a variety of different trans, non-binary and intersex authors, all talking about different memories and ideas that produce trans joy. Quite a lot of it is also from Laura Kate Dale as well, so she has got her own stories in here. So Grender Euphoria, wait, this isn't right. That's better. Now this is a book that matches my outfit. I am not dressed like the trans flag that is marked across Grender Euphoria. I have a white scarf in the centre. Either side of that is my pink jumper and either side of that is my blue zip hoodie. Winner! So this is a book that I have started for Art of Illusion. So I have read 3 of the essays from this book, and already I can feel the trans joy. I really love how it does just pull in different stories and different things. So already there's 3 very, very different things. There is a, I'll read you the little titles of the essays. So I have read Becoming Prom King, How My Classmates Showed Their Support for My Transition by Oliver Jones. So you have a trans man teen here who is starting his journey, has come out to his school. But obviously, you know, there's a huge amount of transitioning that goes on, and not everyone is going to, sadly, not everyone is supportive. And Oliver obviously struggled like everyone does, but I'm not explaining this very well. But basically it was how just this message of support from classmates and from friends, and from them getting there to go, look, we know you're having a hard time, we know you're not quite where you want to be, but we want to let you know that you are mainly supported by everyone. And the way Oliver talks about that just moment of joy and just how much that meant to him, was just so lovely to read about. And I think it just absolutely goes to show like why it's so important to, you know, small things that cis people would take for granted, like correct pronouns, correct names, not having to talk about yourself all the time, you know, just all of those things. It just means so much and just makes someone feel comfortable and happy in themselves, and it's just not a lot to ask. Then the next story was by Halo Jet and Dawn, and it's called Gender Creative Parenting and Me. So it just sort of gives a little bit of their story, where they are at the moment, with their non-binary partner, raising their child, and just different like struggles kind of being in a binary world where that doesn't sit right with you, and sort of managing co-parenting, managing a child, and just finding all those joys in the way that you are. And then the final one was The First Signs Hormones Were Working for Me by Laura Kate Dale. And it was just sort of like the joy and the hope that she was starting to feel more like who she is. Like her body was starting to reflect how she is within herself. It was starting to reflect her truth, and just like how powerful that can be on this journey. So it's just really lovely just to hear all those different things, and to just have some trans joy. So I'm looking forward to continuing to hearing more stories, and to just appreciate the joy, because we all need joy. It's very dark and bleak, the world feels, so to have some joy in it is just lovely. So I can't wait to keep reading. I'm also really, through reading this, I'm looking forward to kind of hearing about so many different journeys, and just enjoying the goodness, and just hopefully hearing about more authors that I can kind of look into other things that they've done and expand my library. So usually I would just pick one and then focus on that one, but because I've got a lot of books on the go, and because if I'm reading constant non-fiction, it can feel a bit heavy sometimes. It's not my normal go-to, and I have also just come off reading some other non-fiction in March as well. I'm wanting to mix things up a little bit, to be reading things alongside, and I don't know whether I'm going to finish Gender Euphoria or the next book first, so I'm going to put them in both together. So Gender Euphoria also fits as one of my Trans Girl April prompts. It fits the trans woman non-fiction prompt on the bingo board, so that is awesome. And the next book fits into my buddy read. So this is a book that I'm also reading with other people. So let's see what book I have chosen for my next class. So to become a star whisperer, PioLurs must also study law. For this, we are studying The Legend of Deer, and we must read a book with a map. I have chosen Spice Road by Maya Ibrahim. This is a YA fantasy book, and of course contains a map. So this book is a buddy read that I am reading alongside Vadania from Vadania Silver Scribe and Chloe from Phantom Pages. So we are all very lucky to be Fairy Loot book box people. I subscribe, and every month I get sent a really beautiful YA fantasy book and some bits and pieces as well. And because they do it too, we all thought it'd be fun to do some buddy reads together, because often we just, like all many big readers where you are also book collectors, you get a lot of books in and you're not always reading them. So we thought this was a really good way to get us reading our Fairy Loot book boxes, by getting people to vote out of a selection of ones that all of us haven't read, to help us choose our next one. And Spice Road got the top vote, which really excited me because Spice Road was one that I was so excited to receive because I just think it sounds so much fun. It's a desert fantasy. There is a sort of a journey quest type of feeling to it, and I'm just kind of excited about those buzzwords, really. There's, I think there's like an air of mystery to it, and that was kind of what I understood from the premise. I didn't kind of go too much into the premise. I have now read the first 4 chapters. So we've been introduced to our main protagonist, who is what they called a shield around this sort of magical city. And this magical city is kind of like surrounded by this desert. Let's have a look at the map, because that is the purpose of this book. And I can give you the actual correct names. Yeah, so they live in this city here called Kalia. And it's surrounded here by the Swallowing Sands. So there's the Forbidden Wastes, the Swallowing Sands, and this is all called the Sahir. So the only kind of settlement in the Sahir that's safe is Qualia. And that is all they know of. But as we can see from here, the map has other places that the people of Qualia are not aware of. So in Qualia, they have the first chapter like introduces you to this beautiful tea drinking ceremony. So they prepare, this is like a ritual, they prepare the tea and they drink the tea, and the tea is made with mira, which is also known as spice, and it kind of gives you like a stronger kind of magical substance. So it enhances your own magical ability. There's lots of different abilities described in here. There's people who can kind of manage the elements. There's people who will have an affinity with animals. There are shapeshifters. There is kind of like magical weaponry. So there's lots of different types of magic, and it all comes from the bark of this sacred tree. When we meet Imani, she is in the barracks. She's one of the shields who help to protect this city. There are all sorts of like ghouls and jinn and monsters around it, and they have to kind of keep them at bay to keep their city safe. Her brother was also a shield, and at the beginning of the book, they talk about the loss of her brother. And there seems to be a bit more of a mystery around this. It seems to have really hit her family hard, not just in the case of like grieving for a relative. There seems to be kind of more than that. And Imani's younger sister, Amira, is acting out, is sort of being a little bit rebellious about things. And Imani has kind of thrown herself into her duty as a shield. And we find out a bit more about the family. We see the sisters together. And you kind of get the feeling that they're not quite on the same page, but you really want them to be. And you hope that throughout the story, they're able to kind of come together and see eye to eye and be able to continue to have this lovely bond as sisters. But there's been a bit of a mystery. I'm not going to say any more because I don't want to go into spoilers, but they've gone to a secret place and things have been revealed. And I'm very excited to see what happens. So I think both Vadania and Cloe are much more ahead of me. So I'm really hoping to, when I finish this, to be cracking on and reading a lot more, to get up to the end of chapter 10 when we can all talk about it and then move on to the next 10 chapters. So really looking forward to my journey with this one. But like I said, because I'm doing this with the buddy read and reading it alongside other people, I don't know how quickly I'm going to finish. And the same with Grender Euphoria, because I want to enjoy all the individual stories rather than feeling burnt out by it. I need to kind of mix my books up a little bit. So whichever one of these I finish first, I will talk to you about the final class that PioLurs has to have for in order to meet all of his classes to become his calling of a Star Whisperer. Such a waffly way of explaining. I'm sure there's a much more succinct way of doing it. But basically, pass his exams in all those classes to continue in his career in his calling of a Star Whisperer. So we'll see what happens. So there we go. Please let me know if you have read Oh, and Here's the Spine. Please let me know if you have read any of these books, are interested in any of these books, how you're doing with your calling, if you are also part of the Magical Readathon, or if you're not, just what you have been reading most recently. Thank you so much for watching, everyone, and if you want to do a little book stack emoji, that would be really cool to let me know that you got to this end of the video. Happy reading, everyone!